my story and to bring some awareness to everybody about strokes and aphasia. Strokes, I interviewed Mark McEwen. Does anyone know Mark McEwen? He used to be the CBS forecaster. In my interview to him, we were talking about it, and he says, you know, strokes are not the main, you know, they don't talk about strokes so much. And it really, when you think about a stroke, you think your grandmother or grandfather has a stroke, but it can happen to any single person at any single time. I was 26 years old when I had my stroke. I had a massive stroke. I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, and it was devastating. It was devastating not only to me, but the family around me. It turns your life upside down. You don't even know what to do. And at that time, back at 26 years ago, you had no idea. You know, when I went into the hospital, they had no idea that I even suffered a stroke until hours after. They've really come a long way with stroke awareness, and that's because of the American Stroke Association, the National Stroke Association, and all of the hospitals around the world. They really are doing incredible work. I have been a part of the acute stroke advocate for Valley Hospital. And I've sat in some of their wonderful meetings every day that just are incredible, and not every day, once a month. And they talk about, like, they review all these stroke patients that come in and how they could better their operation. And I really learned that it really is up to us to be an advocate for strokes, to know the signs. And on this calendar that is on the back of the calendar, it does say the signs. The signs are fast. That's the easy way to remember it, fast. Stands for the face. If the face droops, if you see someone and their face is drooping, you know that they've suffered it. They could be suffering a stroke. The other one is arms, which when you put your arms out, which I can't put my arm out now because I've suffered a stroke. But if their arms are like this, they could possibly be suffering a stroke. Speech, if they slur and they're having trouble communicating, which someone, a mayor, was just on the news, a mayor, the governor of Minnesota, the way, I don't know if he suffered a stroke, but the way he was speaking, that was a prime example of someone could be suffering a stroke. And the other part is time. Time is so important. From 4.5 hours. But 4.5 hours is not from the time that you find that person, it's from the onset of the stroke, which is really important to know the time. 80%, this staggered me, and this is one of the reasons I got into my foundation, is 80% of strokes can be prevented. That's staggering. That's staggering, because this strokes is the #1 cause of disability. Okay, so that means 80% of those strokes could have been prevented if we knew the signs and we knew we had preventative medicine, you know, preventative care for ourselves in our lives. And it really is you really have to take care of yourself, you know. So it really is important to know the signs of a stroke, and you could save your life or you could save someone else's life, and that is so important, you know. Now let's move to aphasia. Aphasia is the result of a brain injury or stroke. I suffer from aphasia. And really, it was the way the governor was speaking and I'm not sure, once again, that he suffered a stroke, but that was a prime example that we're all aware of how he spoke at that particular time. Is you suffer where your brain is, I can only speak from my own. My brain was scrambled. I couldn't speak, I couldn't communicate, I couldn't even think. So, and that happened at my stroke. But then I really got back into the mainstream of life. But people didn't realize, you know, when they looked at me, if you looked at me, you wouldn't think that I had suffered a stroke. But I did. And one of my biggest stories is that when you look at me, you don't know what's going on in my brain. We don't know what's going on in someone else's brain. So our brains could be scrambled. and mine was. So I got back into the mainstream of life, and I would talk to people, and they would say to me, you know, I'd repeat stuff twice, or I'd write something wrong, and this was many years ago, you know, 10 or 15 years ago. And they'd go, what, is something wrong with you? And really, I wasn't aware enough to say, yes, I suffered a stroke. You know, it was through the process. I've been blessed to get a job with the Wanakee Reserve, and to have a gentleman named Dominic Cordelessa really help me defragment my brain. It was a God thing. I don't, you know, God put me in that place so that I could learn how to defragment my brain and really become an advocate and become a speaker for that, for strokes and aphasia. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to stand here and share with you my story and how important it is to become aware of strokes and aphasia. I know most of you are aware that when you become aware of something, it just brings a huge light on things, and you really make a difference in the world. I just saw someone on TV say, you know, you can't do something with something you're not aware of. You know, you do the best you can unless you become aware of it. So that's why I really think that it's important for me to come out and speak to all the Rotaries and speak to you know, everybody. I have an internet TV show on my channel, Rene Marie's Stroke of Luck, because I wrote a book, Stroke of Luck, because I really think that my stroke was a stroke of luck. It was a stroke of luck because God knew how focused and determined and driven I am. And when I get a purpose, that don't worry about it. Like, I could just hear him saying to me, like, okay, Rene, I want you to do this. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it, you know? And it is a passion of mine. We have our third, I can't believe it. When I went to someone was talking about the Adler's Aphasia Center in Maywood, and they're an incredible organization. They're incredible. And I went there to do a testimonial, while I was there, Elaine Adler walked me around the location, and I'm like, oh my God, Elaine, we have to have a telethon, because as you all know, looking at my brochures, I'm also an entertainer, so I'm like, oh my God, you know, we got to do a telethon, because light and music and joy brings people to a place where they listen differently. You know, you listen differently when you're happy and you're in that space, and so you're able to share these stories and awareness through a telethon. So we did a telethon, and we're on our third annual telethon this year, which I'm very, very happy, sponsored through my Rene Marie's Language of Love corporation. So I'm really happy to have the opportunity to bring a little bit of awareness to you about strokes and aphasia. And I hope that I brought, you know, a little bit, and I hope that you'll put the calendars on your, you know, wherever you sit most, at your desks or somewhere, so that you're always, because I know when you see things repetitious, you will bring a little bit more light to you. It's almost like a reminder, and you may save someone's life. If I could save one person's life, I'm making a huge difference, and that's really important. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm going to take some questions.
You said 80% of strokes are preventable. How?
By awareness, by living a healthy lifestyle, because some of the causes of strokes are high blood pressure. So if you go to the doctor and you control your high blood pressure, and you're on doctor you know, monitored, you could save your life. You could save your life.
And in that 4-hour window, you also mentioned some stuff like in that 4-hour window after the science show, you talked about things they can do in the hospital, right?
Oh yes, I was saying before, if this is one of the things I've learned from speaking to doctors and to hospitals, is if you know someone's having a stroke, and you make the ambulance aware of it, the ambulance will call the hospital and let them know you could be suffering a stroke. They will pass triage, which is where you have to stop to have your insurance and everything. They'll go right past into a CAT scan. because they know, they are now aware that time is of the essence. Time is of the essence, and that is. And I am a really big advocate, and I really want to become a lobbyist for strokes and aphasia in Washington, D.C. I'm working with the American Stroke Association to kind of show me how to do that. I've never done it, don't know, but they tell me that when you are a stroke survivor, it comes from a different place. Like you know what it's like to suffer a stroke. So you're talking from a different place. And I tell you, one of our mission statements on our foundation is to help those that their insurance has expired or run out. And that is our next 5-year plan, because my foundation's only 3.5 years old, young, I should say. And so my next 5-year plan is to how can we help those that their insurance has run out? Because when you suffer a stroke, I believe, and this comes from my experiences, you need love in your life. You don't need to be worried about getting on the phone and talking to an insurance company, talking to, it shouldn't be the way. Like, let other people worry about that, and you just recover in the proper way. Since strokes are the first leading cause of disability in the United States, and we have to remember that, and we have to love people through it, so it's really important. It's really one of my biggest missions in my life. And my vision, I'll take your question in 1 second. My vision in my life is to create a center where people can come, like the Adler's Aphasia Center for stroke patients, so that they could come and just heal with recovery and work through that.
I just wanted to say congratulations on being able to get up in front of an audience like this and talk so honestly and genuinely about
Thank you.
your situation. How long did it take you to recover from your stroke? And obviously when you put your arm up, you still have some disability, but looking at you, you wouldn't know that. So I mean, it's really incredible. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm driven, and I really know that. I really feel that, in our lives, we're preparing for our life. You don't know what's going to happen in your life. And then my next book is called Extra Innings. I'm writing my book right now, and it's about my softball career, because I was a driven softball player. I mean, you want to talk about driven? I mean, I would give my life playing softball, and that's when the first occurrence happened to me. When I was playing softball for a softball team, my little league team, and I was on third base, and my coach Pat Talafero, wonderful individual. I hope if anybody ever knows her, she's a wonderful person. She put on a suicide squeeze, and Laura Tula was up to bat, and Laura Tula bunted the ball, dropped the bat, and I ran in from third base. My helmet fell off. I hit the end of the bat, and it came up and hit me in the head. Oh. So, in my world, I know God was trying to get my attention back then. But I'm like, so I went into the hospital, and and then Pat had to put me in a wheelchair for 3 days. It was traumatic. So 13 years later, God bless you, 13 years later, the same people around me, even people that weren't coaching anymore, came to the game, and the same day, the same softball field, like I heard God saying to me, let's try this again. So when I was walking off the first base line of the third base, because I coach third base now rather than playing it, I coach third base, I walk into the first base dugout, and that's when I went down and had my stroke. And I knew then, I don't know if anybody has the same faith as me, but when I was taken out of my body, I had a conversation with God. He actually spoke to me. And I said, please don't take me, I don't want to go, I have so much to do. And he said, I don't want to take you, I've just been trying to get your attention, I want you to work for me. So I said, okay, just put me back down in my body and let me do whatever it is I gotta do. But that doesn't mean that my life has been very easy, because I had to then begin the work, and it's really hard work, to become aware of myself, to become aware of my surroundings, to be compassionate for people, to not only do my God work, but to do my inner work, to shed all those layers, So for me standing here, and thank you so much, it really is a testimonial that when you have faith and you have drive and you have love around you, that anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Now, I was thinking if my wife or somebody I know was having a stroke, that I would throw them into my car quick and sail down the valley. What you're saying is don't do that, get the ambulance.
You know what, I don't want to answer that because I'm not a doctor. I really don't feel comfortable answering that. But if you know, I would recommend you talk to your doctor about that, because I really don't know.
But call ahead
Well,
and
Rich is
let them
saying
know.
So you can bypass everything, where if I bring her in, I can't bypass it.
No, you could let them know. You need to let anybody know that if you're bringing your, I'm not going to tell you that you should, but if you bring your wife to the doctors, you need to let them know your wife may be suffering a stroke, and they'll go right into stroke action. They'll go right into stroke action. They will. They'll go right into stroke action where they'll know that they need to call a neurologist, and they'll go right into stroke action. There's difference. I mean, just think about like when people have heart attacks. If you tell the doctors in the ambulance she could be suffering a heart attack, she's a heart attack patient, a heart patient, they'll go right into heart attack mode because it's a history that you have, or it's a an awareness that you brought to them, and that's really what we want to bring awareness to.
Do you believe that the getting hit when you were sliding home had anything to do with your stroke?
I really don't know, but in my world, it was just because of the awareness that I had that something higher power really had a purpose for me in my life. I don't look back. I don't look at things like this is why it happened. I just look like this is where I am. This is what I got to do, and this is my purpose in life. So, yeah. I mean, it could have. It really could have. I mean, that's a good,
It was in the same place.
Yes, same
I
time.
mean,
and it hit the head. So, any more? The hospitals and the doctors are really aware of strokes now. They're really aware because it's a push. It's really a push because it's so transparent that strokes are the number one. I mean, I know I keep saying it, but the number one leading cause of disabilities. And if you could prevent strokes from doing that, we've got to make a mission of it to really bring awareness to it. So thank you so much. Does anybody have any more questions? Thank you so much.
Again, speaking